Okay, so theoretically, I have already sent you a demonstration of what this thing looks like in action. So now I'm going to kind of walk through and show you some of the components and how this is put together. Basically, you've got your sensor bar down here that is a set of reed switches. Each one of these little guys is actually a set of magnetic metal poles inside of a glass casing. And if you take something like a small magnet on the end here and you tap it on there, you get a magnetic connection between the two poles in there, and it works just like a button or a switch anywhere else. So each one of these guys is spaced so as to correspond with a magnet that I have put underneath the central keys on this particular keyboard. Again, this is something that I still plan on keying up the entire keyboard at some point, but in the interest of getting something that is playable right now, we're going for the center 16 white keys on the keyboard, and that'll be enough for the logic of the game. And then I will figure out a time to come and retrofit the rest of them in at some other point. And then you'll see, you may see, up underneath here, each one of the bottoms of these keys has a, let's see if I can actually get one of these to roll up for us here. There we go. You can see that there's about a half-inch distance that those guys rise up and down, and then there's a little rare earth magnet that's glued onto each one of those. So those will represent the magnets that will actually roll up and down on top of the sensor bar here, which will represent then the button pushes that perform the logic of the game. And the nice thing is that the way that these are set up underneath here, there's actually a fair amount of space. It's kind of hard to see in the light, but there's a fair amount of space to stuff all the electronics up underneath there, covered up, and have it be completely, hidden. It's going to be completely covered up, and then obviously the top here is going to get its covers put back on, and I will make sure that these are connected in a way that they will not be easily removed. Yeah, all of that will be covered up. And then the remaining portion here of the electronics, I've got just connected onto a breadboard right here, and then the Arduino, and then the status lights, which may or may not be actually incorporated into the game themselves. They'll probably just be tucked up underneath that we can use for diagnostics, but otherwise would be not necessarily visible to the players. And then I have actually over here what is essentially going to be a prototype for what these modules will eventually look like once I clean the things up a little bit. And then these will do 16 keys at a time, and then we can just stack them up, and we'll need 6 of them then across, and then that'll be all 88 keys of the keyboard. So I think that's the basics of it, and then I've got my bracket, and we'll get up underneath the piano and see if I can't get these guys lined up underneath the keys, and that guy switched upside down and tucked up underneath there, and then see if we can get the game to play using the actual piano keys.